always talk about the leading score and racking up points and running as fast as you can for North Carolina, but this team might be defined by how good they are on the defensive end.
This is Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks first listener watch to get your Thursday going the right way. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our Tar Heels players, Mazda sweats every detail. Because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Mazda, move and be moved. Special shout out to all the everydayers who are here with us. And of course, all our great Locked On Tar Heels Discord members and our great Locked On Tar Heels insiders as well. So glad you're all joining us. Speaking of joining with me today on the show, as he is every Thursday, our good buddy, Coach Bill Robinson, the head coach of the Milligan University Buffaloes. We're just about 3 weeks away from him kicking off his season, regular season there for the NAIA. Crazy stuff. Coach Rob is also a 2-decade veteran of Carolina Basketball School. That's Carolina's summer basketball camp. He's written a book all about it, Carolina Basketball School, History, Stories, and Drills. You can see the man, the myth, the legend, Roy Williams right there on the cover. Great book that you need to get your hands on and read as a Carolina fan. Coach and I today are going to be talking about defense. We spend so much time paying attention to offense, but this team might be a very good defensive team. So we want to talk about that. We'll look at rebounding. Can Carolina rebound from last year? I apologize for the pun, and yes, it was intentional. And then also we found out that Carolina is going to go to Cherokee, which they were unable to do last year because of the storms. We'll look at that and unpack it. Coach, here's kind of why I wanted to talk about this specifically today. On yesterday's show, it was our Seth Trimble preview episode. Brendan Marks from The Athletic joined me to unpack Seth. And one of the things we talked about was maybe this is the year where Seth is just gangbusters on defense more so than ever before. And with the length and athleticism of this team, Brendan posed, I wonder, Isaac, if this could be the best defensive team of the Hubert Davis era. Immediately, I thought two things, Coach Bill Robinson. I want Coach Rob's take on this. And number two, that 23-24 team that was a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament was pretty darn defensively strong as well. Could they be better than that? So, Coach, I'll just pose it to you big picture like that. Is this potentially the best defensive team of the Hubert Davis era?
Potentially is the important word there, I think. Yes, obviously they could be. That first team was really good defensively. And if they even get close to that, I think it'll have a huge factor in how many wins and losses that they have this year. You've heard me talk about this for a long time. Defensively, I love to see teams do multiple things, and that's not Hubert's philosophy.
Right.
He wants to be solid with what he does, and but I'd still like to see them even tweak things without changing to a zone or trapping or doing things like that. But this team can switch screens, switch ball screens, switch a lot of different things if they wanted to. That is the more modern way. Teams are figuring out how to attack teams that switch everything. So I don't think they want to do that all the time. But even if they switch 1 through 4 and allow Henri to stay with their guy, he can jam ball screens or he can, soft hedge or do something, get back to his guy. But I do think they have a lot of pieces, a lot of length and quickness. And when Seth is the guy, and the guy plays great defense, it makes everybody else want to play great defense. So I think that could be a huge factor in them becoming, the best defensive team under Hubert.
One of the issues last year, and we're going to talk about rebounding in the next segment, but one of the issues last year was that there was no rim protection behind a Seth. Let's just stay with that. Knowing that he's got both Caleb and Henri behind him, Jarin when he comes in, whatever that is, how does that change the way a perimeter-oriented defender is able to guard?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that affects, and when that ball does come in the post, they don't need to help. They can just fly around the gym and stay with their guy and force that post guy to go one-on-one against the shot blocker, against the big guy. That's one of them. The other one is you can be more aggressive in passing lanes. You can be up maybe more aggressive on the ball when you know you got somebody back there behind you. And there's other rotational issues there too that you have to make sure that you're really good at. But if you have guys, I'm thinking about Jonathan Powell. You think about you know the whole mix of that whole group of at the four. And you can throw Zayden High in there too. These guys have length. They have the ability to close out. They have the ability to block shots. And if they do get put on a smaller guy, they have the length to be able to create a toughness when it comes to getting a shot off or being, even if they get beat off the dribble, you can use your length and athleticism to be able to catch back up into the play. So I love Jarin Stevenson's ability to play all those multiple positions. I think Zayden's going to be in a similar situation, being able to play. And then you've got, Henri there to block shots. So it just gives those guards more freedom to be able to go out there and be aggressive.
Obviously, Seth, we look at him as probably the best individual defender. But from what you've seen both this summer and when you went to practice a couple weeks ago, are there others that stand out to you? And I know you just mentioned a couple names, but are there others that stand out to you as really strong individual defenders?
Yeah, Derek Dixon, I think, is going to be really good. His feet, he's just got great feet. And I know I'm weird as a coach, but, when you shake somebody's hand, I always measure up how big their hands are because I do have small hands, and I like to watch footwork. I like to watch shooters when they're shooting and how their footwork goes, or when somebody's guarding the ball. Are they limiting their steps to the least amount so that they're able to defend and keep somebody in front of? That's Derek, and I think he's going to be a great on-ball defender. He's got great hands, quick hands, but a lot of guys who have quick hands don't have great feet, so they get off balance and then they have to use them to get back, a tip or a back tip or to create something else. I think Derek's got both. I think he's got great feet. He's got the understanding of angles to be able to keep people in front, but he's also got those quick hands.
And good positional size.
Yeah, and not comparing not comparing to RJ. I think RJ was very gifted when it came to his quickness with his hands and being able to get hands and steals and those type of things. I'm not saying he's quite there yet, but he's got those type of abilities.
Man, that's encouraging. Now, I think a lot of people's gut reaction would be, okay, there's a lot of individual defenders. That means the team defense is going to be strong as well. Coach, unless I'm just dead wrong, in good individual defenders doesn't always correlate to strong team defense. So let's ask it that way. What are you going to need to see from the Tar Heels to start thinking, okay, conceptually, like this team is tied together like a good marionette that's all the strings are moving all apart, right? Like what do you need to see to say, man, this is a good team defensive approach?
Yeah, I want to see great communication. I want to see how they communicate. And you communicate three ways on the floor, and obviously verbal is a big one. But when the gym is packed and there's a lot of noise in there, you got to see a lot of physical communication, whether you're just actually showing signs and being able to communicate with pointing and that kind of stuff, or physical communication where you're grabbing somebody or pushing a teammate to where they need to be. And that's what I would look like. I'm not going this Saturday, but if I were going, those are the type of things on the defensive end that I'm looking for. I'm seeing how well they work together. What's their body language look like? Are they together when it comes to a defensive possession? When there is a breakdown, how is that communication? Is it a lot of this type of stuff, or is it like, hey, come here, let's talk about this? Those are the type of things I'm looking for to see how really well they are connected early on. These are things that you work on every day. These are things you work on in the summer for them to be able to get everybody on the same page defensively. That's why I felt like it was important to get Luka here as quickly as possible, because those are things that need to be done from day one. And when you miss those things, those are big sessions to miss.
Which is a good moment to say, we were talking about that team. Would you right now, Coach, let's get this on the record. Would you say that one seed 2 years ago was Coach Davis's best defensive unit?
Yeah, definitely. And
okay.
And it's not just winning, but they were more connected and locked in together.
So with that team, it didn't initially start that way, right? Like it took some time. I think we've identified it was around that Jumpman Invitational game against Oklahoma where they really locked in, wound up being a top 10 defensive team at KenPom in the entire nation. Let me make sure I'm not lying when I say that. 24. Yeah, Carolina was 8th at defensive efficiency at KenPom that year. Last year let's just compare and contrast. They were 47th. High level, but not Carolina level elite. Coach, knowing that Luka's coming in a little bit late, knowing that it takes time, especially with a unit in this transfer portal era where you've got to put all the pieces together, about how long would you expect it to take before they're functioning at their ceiling defensively? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think you can be as connected as you think you are during the regular season or preseason. It takes regular games to really be able to test you to find out exactly where you are. I think it's going to take 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, whatever. However, that first group, hopefully you're connected by Thanksgiving, and that's kind of the thought. You want to make sure that you are ready to go. And again, it's nice to have all the conference games late. So, and that's really what's most important. But you have to be able to connect. Also, early in the season, you want those games where you can play everybody and kind of get a better feel for what you think you have, or what to find out exactly what you have, because you don't know. You think you know, but you really don't know until the games start and you find out exactly where everybody is.
So maybe around that Fort Myers tip-off slot
Mhm.
is what you're looking at, Coach. St.
Yep.
Bonaventure, Michigan State. I think that's games 6 and 7, or maybe it's 7 and 8. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, games 6 and 7. And then right on the heels of that, pun not intended on that one, is the game at Kentucky. So that'll really test things with what you were saying earlier, with all that just various way you got to go about defending. And then coming off of that, Georgetown in the Smith Center on Sunday, December 7th. That'll be an interesting one to watch for, right? Like, if we're expecting it for Thanksgiving week, then you go to Rupp, and then you're back home against another high major opponent. That'll be an interesting tell. Is that group of 4 games, where are they at defensively? And then following that, you got a couple more games to really figure things out before ACC play. Now, a big part of the defensive drop-off last year was Carolina's inability to rebound at Carolina levels of rebounding. Will Carolina rebound and rebound better? We'll talk about that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 all across the app to use with bonus bets. And when you use FanDuel, whether that's parlays, player props, even getting in on the action live, it makes watching football even more enticing and exciting, since you got a little something extra riding on the action. So whether you're a casual fan or maybe you love getting into the nitty-gritty of the stats like me, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. ACC Conference Championship odds for basketball just came out on Tuesday. Duke is favored at plus 155, then Louisville at plus 220, and then Carolina third at plus 700, with the Wolfpack right behind at plus 750. So if you want to get in on that action or anything else, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the app today and go ahead and get started. This episode is also brought to you by Square. You need to know that your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home. Whether it's the local sports bar that's packed on game day, or that coffee shop that knows your name and your order the second you walk in the door, or that corner deli that's been faithfully serving your community for decades, these are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. What does supporting a community look like in that regard? Well, spending money there isn't just supporting the business. It's supporting the people behind it and the community around it. Those local spots are what make the neighborhood feel like home, and so many of them run on Square, like Hawthorne and Wood right there in the Chapel Hill area. Or I know it's not local, but Shake Shack just off Franklin Street. Man, I love Shake Shack, and they all use Square, who is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses all over the globe. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege right now to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. Coach, I want to continue thinking about this idea of defense. And I know you said it off the top about the potential is there for the defense, but I guess I want to ask again more formally. When you look at this team, you look at the pieces, assuming Luka can get in, get cleared by the NCAA. I don't know how many times we're going to have to keep saying that, but that's a reality right now. How strongly do you feel like, hey, this team could really, really be something defensively?
Yeah, I think they're going to be great defensively. The length and the athleticism is going to lead to the ability to defend multiple ways, even just man defense, but defending screens, ball screens, a lot of different ways. One of the ways I like to see him do is even downing ball screens. I've seen them practice it a lot, especially when the NBA guys are in there, because that's the way they do things in the NBA. So they practice that in the summer. So the guys know that kind of stuff. They'll soft hedge and funnel things a little bit too, and I think that's probably what primary they'll do some of that stuff. But they are going to try to find ways to contain people, use Henry's length. And obviously he's not going to switch things and be able to stay in front of guards. So they've got
Sure.
to find a way to keep him connected. But there's a lot of stuff defensively you can do, even with man to man. Just little tweaks here and there to be able to keep them fresh and get them into. I'd like to see him trap ball screens to help him get to into generate that and kickstart that offense. So. I think this is the year, and I don't have any proof of it. And just my heart tells me that you're going to see a little bit more the tweaks, even though it may not be zone and run and jump like Coach Smith would have done. But I think you're going to see some little tweaks defensively that will take advantage of their length and athleticism.
And man, you talk about that length. Obviously, all the height Carolina added does not a good defense make, but boy, does it help as Carolina goes about that endeavor of being a good defensive, or excuse me, not even good, elite as they were 2 years ago, elite defensive unit. And coach, a big part of that is rebounding. We know that historically rebounding is a critical part of what North Carolina does as a team. But last year, coach, they were 105th in the nation in total rebounds per game. They were 206th, excuse me, in offensive rebounding percentage at 29.1%. Rebounding margin throughout the Hubert Davis era. Let's go back to the last year of Roy Williams, plus 10.31. First year of Coach Davis, plus 8.54, plus 5.33, plus 7.27. Coach, last year it dipped to plus 2.95 in rebounding margin. How critically important is it for Carolina as they think about, I know we're talking about defense. Obviously, there's an offensive component to rebounding as well. How important is it for Carolina to get that rebounding going again?
Yeah, it's huge. And we talk about it. One of the greatest feelings as a coach is to get that defensive rebound, to get the stop, to complete that possession and get that. And there's a million ways to get a stop, but that defensive possession is to see it finish. And it's just a good feeling. And there's so many, small lineups last year. You had the 3 guard lineups. You had a lot of small guys on the floor at the same time. To have the length and the height and being able to have multiple guys, I think is huge. And to me, it's going to start with Henri, but really, it's going to be Caleb. It's going to be Caleb Wilson, his ability to go get him. And I know we're talking about defensive rebounds. I'm looking for him to be more active on the offensive end as well.
Absolutely.
And if I'm Hubert or his staff, I'm telling Caleb, don't worry about defensive transition at all. You go get every shot that goes up either end. He just needs to be going and getting it. So I do think that it's going to be back, and it may not be elite, it may not be top 10, but I definitely think that things will change and they'll get back up to the plus, closer to 10 that they have had in the past.
Man, that would be certainly ideal. You look at even in terms of the sheer rebounding numbers. Coach Davis's first year, Armando was the leading rebounder, 13.1 a game. Brady second at 6. Next year, Armando 10.4, Leaky 6.5. 2 years ago, Armando led the way at 10.3. Harrison Ingram second at 8.8. Coach, last year, the 2 leading rebounders on this team were Van Allen Lubin at 5.5. That was the leading rebounder. And Seth Trimble is your second leading rebounder at 5 boards a game. I mean, just again, I know we got to look at pace adjusted thing and rebounding percentages things, but even in those, just story told. And so, Coach, as you look at it, you said Henri, you said Caleb. In your mind, are those the 2 leading rebounders just from a sheer rebounds per game perspective?
Yeah, I think Caleb's your leading rebounder mainly because he's a great rebounder, and second because I think he'll lead the team in minutes or be second behind Seth in the minutes. I think those guys were both going to play, depending on foul trouble and those type of things. 30, 33 minutes, maybe 35 minutes for Seth. When you're playing those type of minutes, you're going to get rebounds just because of the sheer amount of time you're on the floor. But I'd also think Caleb's going to get a bunch of rebounds just because he's so athletic. And if you do just let him go, just release him and say, just go get him.
Yep.
I think he'll average 8 or 9 rebounds a game. I don't see it being in double figures, and I don't think they necessarily need to. But if he can average 8 or 9 and you have Henri average 6 or 7, that's a sure solid start towards what you're rebounding as a team, the whole program system wise. That's a good start.
Well, and when you add to that, what you already know that Seth can clearly do as a rebounder if you need him to, what hopefully you can get the good size on the wing, whether that's Luka or Jonathan Powell or when Jarin Stevenson's in. And in fact, Coach Joseph Alexander had put in some stuff on YouTube that some statistic stuff he was curious about. One of which is, will anyone average 8 rebounds a game for this team? And it seems like, Coach, you think that yes, Caleb won't get to double digits, but in that 8 or 9 range. Would you say yes to that?
Yeah, definitely. I think they'll have +8. I don't see it being a 10, but yeah, I think Henri could be right there too, though. I think he could be a 7 or 8 type rebound guy
Yep.
just because of his ability to the length and tipping it to himself. And I don't want to say this too loud, but he'll get offensive rebounds off his misses too, and then just grab it and lay it back in. But that's part of the game too. If you got to have somebody who can clean it up.
Well, and so historically, Carolina has been so good at just get the ball to the rim,
Mhm.
get the offensive board, and get it back. We know that's not been as much of a staple of the Hubert Davis era, right, as it was in the Roy Williams era. But Coach Davis has said this year he thinks this is a team that can do it. I know he makes says things sometimes. It's like, okay, well, that's not actually going to happen. But with the offensive rebounding, do you see a world where Carolina this year, I don't want to say can get back to Roy Williams level offensive rebounding, because I don't think that'll be a reality, but maybe the best offensive rebounding team of the Hubert Davis era, perhaps?
Yeah, for sure. And I think just because of their ability to, and again, it comes down to how they play, the style that they play. We've talked about this before when Joe Holiday was there, and he said, sometimes the best offense they have was just, like you said, throwing it towards the rim and go get it. And I think they do have, with Jarin as another option, Jonathan Powell with his athleticism and length, you have guys that can go get it. So if they play fast and they create offense early and get quick shots, that's where a lot of these offensive rebounds come. And because they're such a great shooting team, that offensive rebound leads to kickouts and threes, or kickouts and one extra pass and another three. And that's when they're going to see that 3-point percentage go up.
All right. Very curious to keep a close watch on rebounding numbers this year, percentages, offensive rebounding percentages, second chance points, man, could be critical for this team's success on the offensive side of things. Last year, Carolina was supposed to go down to Cherokee, North Carolina, play an inter-squad scrimmage. Unfortunately, that got shut down because of the storms and everything going on in North Carolina. Carolina, we just learned this week, is going to go back and do that, making a 4th opportunity to see Carolina in the preseason. We're going to unpack some of that and talk about why that's good and healthy, and we like it all, coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, who drafts cars for those who do more than simply move. I got to start that over. They don't draft cars, they craft cars. Dork. 3, 2, 1. Right after I tell you about Mazda, who crafts cars for those who do more than simply move, Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings that same level of intentionality to how they craft every model. You can feel that incredible Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents all the way to the available Nappa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Because with Mazda, everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And like our Tar Heels players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by Gametime. Y'all, college football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real about it. Actually, getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Interminably long lines, hidden fees, prices jumping when you get to checkout. That's why you got to use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've seen to buy tickets, and I love that you can find a view from your seat right there in the app. Speaking of which, coming up on Saturday, Carolina back in action on the football field, hosting Clemson. Both teams looking for their first Power 4 victory of the year. Yikes. Zone deals as cheap as $70 a ticket you can find on Gametime right now. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the app, create an account, and use code LockedOnCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code LockedOnCollege for $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Coach, we had known of 3 opportunities to see Carolina in action before the regular season tips off on Monday, November 3rd. Those were the inter-squad scrimmage coming up, blue-white scrimmage this Saturday, an hour after the Carolina-Clemson football game ends. Then we have the BYU exhibition game in Salt Lake City, and then the Winston-Salem State game as well. But now we know, Coach, as of the announcement that came out on Tuesday, there is now a 4th opportunity to see Carolina in action. That's coming up a little bit later in October, when Carolina is going to take the opportunity to go to Cherokee like they were going to do last year. That was preempted, unfortunately, by the terrible storms and everything that went on that I know you saw and sent me a lot of crazy pictures of there in the East Tennessee area as well. So, Coach, first off, what I want to ask you is, how neat is this, and how important do you think it is for Carolina to actually make good and go back to Cherokee where they couldn't last year?
Yeah, I think it's more important for the people of Western North Carolina to have them come back out there. I lived in Western North Carolina for 12 years. There are some Duke fans out there. It's Carolina country. It's, they all love the Tar Heels, and for them to be able to come out and part of the healing process. And it's been a year, but yet there's still some businesses that have not reopened and will maybe never reopen. And there's some areas that have still had very little healing done. And this, I really believe that it sounds silly maybe, but to have them come out there to Western North Carolina and be out there and just care about those people, I think brings some more healing, even though it's a year. I haven't forgotten it. People haven't forgotten it. There's still a lot of people hurting out there. So to have a one day where they come out there and get a chance to play in front of those people, I think is it means a whole lot more to the people than it does to Carolina.
And just in case people haven't seen, these events are going to be on Friday, October 17th. There will be a dinner, a meet and greet with the team from 6:30 to 8:30 that evening. There in Cherokee, and there's a ticket for that, and then there's a separate ticket for the next day, Saturday, October 18th. You buy a ticket for the autograph session, and then that same ticket gets you into the scrimmage that's going to take place at Cherokee High School. A really cool opportunity there, and Coach, those I like to go see Carolina scrimmage at a high school. Like, that's just cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, there can't be a bad ticket in a place, right? It's got to be right on top of people. And again, just a huge event and very cool, and something that will be very memorable for everybody, including the players, to be able to play in something like that. It's going to be really special.
Point. That's a great point. So, and look, that's the weekend immediately preceding the BYU game, which is going to be that next Friday. So all of this, man, it's going to come in quick succession. And so, man, we need to stay all tuned for that. And by the way, that ticket is for the autograph session is the only way to get into the scrimmage. So if you want to get to the scrimmage, you got to buy that. And that's only $25. The dinner's $100. So like, if you're spending money and you only can do one, man, go do the Saturday, man. It's cheaper and a great opportunity to see the team in action. Now, Coach, also, the team's going to be in action again this Saturday. And I want to ask you about that. Earlier this week, I gave 5 specific things I'm looking for on Saturday. You talked earlier about, hey, look, I'm not going to be there Saturday, but a little bit of what I'm looking for on the defensive end. As you think about things that you think, again, I know it's just a scrimmage, but we can start to get signs of what this team is going to be. What are you watching for Saturday?
Yeah, I've got a couple things. I didn't see your show. Apologies. I'm a little busy.
No, that's great. In fact, I hope you overlap with me so I can say how smart I am.
Well, one thing I'm looking for that I promise you didn't is that I want to see Elijah Davis. I want to see Evan, Smith. I want to see John Holbrook. I want to see the guys that we don't get to see play in a normal game, and they're not going to play a ton of minutes, but those guys can play. I mean, I recruited Elijah, and John Holbrook plays for a friend of mine, in high school, and those guys are good players. And when they get in and play their 30 seconds at the end of the game, I don't think they get the respect that they deserve. So that's one of the things I'm looking for. And it's
You're
kind
right,
of a side,
Coach. Let me just say,
it's a side note.
I did not say it.
Did you? Yeah, exactly.
I did not say it, but you're so true. And it's a great moment to remind people that, like, you watch those guys and it's like, oh, they're not good. Why? They would cook any one of us outside of the rest of the varsity guys. So let's just keep in mind, as you said, how good these dudes are.
Yeah. The other thing I'm looking for in a serious note is I'm looking for lineups. I'm looking to see the lineups that we all think that is going to start. Is that, do they put all the guys that we think are going to start on one team and have everybody else? Do they play a true team one versus team two? Is it just really a team one and a team A where they've mixed up and kind of made it, try to see it as even as possible? I want to see the intensity that they play. I think Hubert wants us to be serious. I don't think he wants this to be a pickup game. I think he wants them to win. I think he wants them to compete. I'm looking for offensive execution. I want to see if are they running stuff? Is it sloppy? How many turnovers are we going to get? Back to Coach Williams, are they playing with a sense of urgency, even in a preseason, inner squad that doesn't mean anything? And can they guard the ball? Can they take care of the ball? Can they shoot? Is there going to be a high percentage of shots made? And then what percentage of those shots are threes? We keep anticipating how many great shooters that we seem to have this year. How do they shoot it when the lights come on? So those are the type of things that I'll be looking for.
Yeah, to your question about dividing it up, I looked back at last year's blue-white scrimmage as you were talking. One team had Elliott Dyson, Trimble, Van Allen, James Brown, and John Holbrook. The other had R.J. Davis, both Drake Powell and Ian Jackson, Jay Wash, Jay Witt, Ty Claude, and some of the other guys. So it'll be, it seems like last year they divided it up, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything of what they'll do this year. So it'll be, I'm very curious with you to see how that'll play out. Coach, another critical thing is obviously that was when RJ Davis got hurt, which obviously he then didn't play in the Memphis exhibition. And frankly, I think it hurt him a little bit even into the regular season that he maybe didn't let on to people as much as he was actually hurting. Like, is there any, like, hey boys, I need you to compete, but I need you to not get hurt. Like, how do you balance that? Does that make sense as a coach?
Yeah, it's similar to what we do with Division I games. So we go to MTSU, play Middle Tennessee State this year. If a guy gets a breakaway in conference, we're going to chase him down, hard foul, and make him shoot at free throws. The guy in that D1 game gets a breakaway, we back off. We're going to let him go ahead. He can, show off and do some crazy dunk, and we're going to let him do that without. We just don't want them to get hurt, and we don't want to, hurt our chances about playing. Another one of those Division I games because we get known as a team that hurts people. But you have to remember that these blue-white, you're still family. You're still one group, and you don't want to do anything that would jeopardize the health of a teammate. So you still want to play hard. You still want to dive on the ball, but you don't want to dive and take somebody's legs out. You don't want to have a hard foul. You don't want to do all those little things that you would do in a normal game to win. You don't want to take it over the edge. You want to maybe take it to the edge. You still want to be competitive, but you don't want to take it to a place that's unhealthy.
Yeah, that's a good word. And I know it's hard to shut off that competitive streak, but you got to be wise. You got to play the long game. And that's just a part of maturation as a high level athlete is knowing how to balance that. Great stuff, Coach. Really appreciate that. All right. We're really curious to see how this team is going to wind up defensively and on the rebounding side of things. Can they really get that going again this year? I'm very excited to see how all this length and athleticism comes together. Coach, thanks as always for all your great insights. Gang, if you haven't grabbed Coach's book, find it on Amazon. You can email Coach directly, get a signed copy from him. That's the way to go. If you have not subscribed to the show on video and audio on YouTube and on your favorite audio podcast platform, make sure you do that. If you've not joined our Discord, man, there's a whole heck of a lot of Tar Heel fans hanging out there talking all day long. We'd love to have you as part of it as well. Link for that is in the show notes, as is the link for Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow to wrap the week and get ready for both the Clemson game, the blue-white scrimmage, and all the rest of Carolina athletics from this weekend. But until then, peace.